Part two, we're going to create this feature, this little cutout that's happening inside the object. We got a section view over here on the side that shows us that depth, and that everything is the same depth, kind of like that. It tells us our little chamfer that we're going to add at the end. And I'm also in this video going to show you how to make an edit. We're going to change what we did here for the holes. I told you we were going to hold off on that chamfer for just now. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here we go. All right. So this feature, we can kind of see it seems to be sort of based off of these holes. We've got some notes over here that are telling us some different stuff here. We've got a center line down the middle. We've got our distances again from this top corner for each of the different things. So what we're going to start off with is creating a sketch. And I'm going to start off by, again, drawing a rectangle. And I'm going to just kind of create a rectangle in the middle like this. You'll see why as we go through it. But basically, I've got a rectangular shape, and then I've got some things that are coming off of these circles that I'm going to use. All right. So I've got that rectangle, which is my basic shape. Then I'm going to add my circles. And so I'm kind of creating some geometry. Think of this like in your math class here. If we were doing some geometric constructions, things they go off of other things, right? So this circle is based off of this circle here. So I'm going to click on the kind of hovering over there. It sort of will highlight, right? So it's kind of like, because I'm near it, it's like, all right, I think you want to use this, which I do. So I'm going to create a circle off of that center point. I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, so I got that green dot, which has a circle there. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing here. A green dot connects. I'm going to do that. Okay. This says 2 times, right? It's not times, 2 at radius of 0.313. So that's these two. This one has a different radius, okay, of 0.188. We also see this here. It says radius 13, radius of 0.195. Those are going to be fillets that we're going to add afterwards to this. And then it kind of tells us how far away everything is. So these two arcs are the same. So I'm going to add an equal constraint to them. I'm going to make these two equal to each other. I'm going to dimension them, right? And so over on my view over here, this says radius of 313. And here, the point seems really big. If I click 0.313, they seem a lot smaller. That's because this is a circle, and so it defaults to the diameter. So I can do, what I need to do here is to make the diameter from the radius is I can do 313 and then times, so my asterisk on my thing, on my number pad there, times 2. And that will double the size. Okay. I can also, when I dimension, and I bring this out, I can right click and go to dimension type radius and say 0.313. So either one will work for that. All right. So this one down on the bottom is 0.188. So again, I'm going to right click dimension type radius 0.188. Okay. And then I kind of need to figure out this line that's going like this. And then I also, my rectangle that I drew is still purple, so I need to add those dimensions. So we'll start with the rectangle. This tells me that it's 0.3 TYP, which stands for typical. So that's basically saying anywhere you see like a gap that looks like this is 0.3. They also give us the 0.3 up in this corner. So it's basically just telling us that this is 0.3 away from the edges. So I'm going to dimension 0.3 down from the top, 0.3 down from the bottom there. All right, I'm going to do it from the side. One of the shortcut, especially if things are all going to be the same, is rather than typing, if I want it to be the same as that dimension, I can click on it. Kind of, again, depending on what I'm doing here, if I want all of these to be the same, I can do that. So like instead of making it an actual number like I did, I can make them all the same. And then that way, if I go through here and let's say it didn't fit, I needed to make it larger or smaller, they would all change, right? If I change that number. So here we go. So 0.3. So now everything I've drawn so far has turned black. Now I'm going to add this line in here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. So as I move my mouse, I get these little like dotted trails. Kind of don't really want that because the inventor's trying to be smarter than I am. So I don't know that this is going to line up specifically somewhere. So I'm going to find an area where I don't have those dots. And I'm going to just click and then connect it. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. No dots. Bring it in. And I'm just going to sort of connect it. Now you'll notice if I go like this, I have a little circle with a line right above where my cursor is. That is the tangent constraint. And so by accepting that, I've made these tangent, which is what I want. When I did this one, I didn't do that. So you notice that this moves, right? It can move around on that circle. This one will stay tangent. So tangent's very common, right? It basically just rolls around that. And this is going to create like a little edge. So I'm going to add the tangent constraint to this one by clicking on the line and the circle. And those two are going to go in like that. Okay. So then I'm going to kind of look and see what I've got going on here and zoom in a little bit. All right. So here I have 2 at 45 degrees. These lines, there's nothing on this one. So these are basically 45-degree lines. So now I'm going to dimension them by clicking on, again, the 2 lines that make the angle, make that 45 degrees. The 2 lines that make the angle, and I can click on that one or type 45. And now those have turned black. All right. The inside one, I can add that as well. But I'm going to do that as a second operation just because the way I've built this, I want to remove this material. Then I'll go through and I'll remove that material down here. So I'm going to finish my sketch and click extrude. And I'm going to kind of highlight what's inside. And rather than adding to it, right, that doesn't look right, I'm going to cut. And if I go back to my drawing, the depth is 0.5. And now I'm going to click OK. All right, so I've now created some of that cut out, but not all of it. Okay. So now I'm going to add a new sketch here. And I'm going to create this little cutout down here. I'm just going to kind of create, again, I'm going to do a line coming up from the bottom. Right click and hit restart. I'm going to do another line coming up from the bottom. And then I'm going to add an arc. So I'm going to click arc, click the 2 points, and then I'm just going to kind of add that. You'll see I'll get one of them with the tangent constraint and kind of do one or the other, but not both right now, which is fine. So I'll add the tangent to the other one. I'm going to dimension this arc at 0.195. I'm going to make these lines parallel. And then I have to dimension where that center point is. So that center point is 1.65 down, and it's in the middle at 2 inches. So I'll zoom out, come from the top, 1.65, 2 inches from the edge. That turns black. Finish my sketch. It highlights kind of what I did. I'll extrude, change it to a cut. It's still 0.5. We'll click OK. All right. So now I'm going to add all the rest of these fillets. So over here on this, it told me that there were 13 at 0.195. We just did one of them. So we're going to do 12 more. So I'm going to do my fillet. And because I kind of want to see what's happening, I'm going to change that number first to 0.195. Click back where it says select edges. And now I'm going to kind of go through and it'll tell me how many I've got. Okay, so I'm basically doing every corner. And you notice as I'm kind of at this angle, I can get to all of them. Right, and so I have 12. Remember, we did this one, so that's my 13th. And then we'll click OK. All right, so now, well, so that's basically our shape. to finish this part, we're going to add a chamfer around the edges, right? Again, knocking off those corners. If this, again, was a metal part, this kind of creates like these sharp edges. So we're going to knock that off. And we're going to go back and revisit this hole here, okay? So first we'll do the chamfer. So again, the chamfer distance is 0.01. We can highlight that. We can highlight this. Right? Looking at the drawing, that's basically where the chamfers are. It's just around those top edges. I rounded these corners, chamfering those edges all the way around. So we'll click OK. Right? And now I'm going to go back to my hole. All right. Anytime you create something in Inventor, it's over here on this side, and we can go in and we can make modifications to it. So I'm going to go back to my hole command, and I'm going to add the chamfer because, right, I said before we'll hold on this chamfer because there was a chamfer here, but they're not the same, right? 0.21 diameter is not the same as how we just did that. So I'm going to go back into my hole command, and I'm going to add what's called a countersink. Right? So the countersink basically gives room for the head of a screw. Okay. And so I'm going to take that diameter that's across the top, and I'm going to make that 0.21. All right. And so that's going to give me my countersink diameter. And the angle here of 82 degrees is going to be what we're going to do. This does not tell me that there is a specific angle to it. So we're going to just kind of leave that as it is right now. What we actually do is the chamfering tools that I have are not going to give me the 82 degrees, but we'll just leave it for now because it'll kind of select that chamfer for us later. All right. The other thing we're going to do is we're not going to have this drill all the way through. Okay, we don't want a hole in the bottom. Again, this doesn't really show us that it does or it doesn't go all the way through the holes there. We don't have a view, and they didn't give us a depth here, but we know that we have a 0.38 minimum that's tapped. So that's going to be like the length of the bolt. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go back to this in this hole here. And instead of having it go all the way through, I'm going to have it go a distance. Right. And so then I'm going to just take this, and it's kind of like updated for me, right? 0.38 minimum thread depth. And then it gave me a hole depth. I'm just going to accept that, all right? 0.536. It's fine because we know that the part is not, we'll get rid of that in a second. I'll come back to there, right? The part here is 0.75. All right. So let's go back and let's figure out what that error was. So I got to add my chamfer again, change this to 0.21. The countersink, everything looks good. We're going to do this. And, right, so you can kind of, now you can see where the holes stop in there. And I'm not sure why it's yelling at me. So we're going to edit this. Maybe let's try like 0.6. Nope, still yelling at me. See if we get some more. It's got a warning, and I don't know why it's accept it. I don't know. It's giving me it's probably okay. That's why the error is there. So the error wasn't part of the whole, part of the next one. So remember, so we just kind of, when we did this extrusion, we went off of the center of the circles, and now I've got a little. Yeah, it's kind of yelling at me here. It's a warning. My part is still correct, but it's telling me that that's not there, right? So this in purple is not what was there before. I can fix that by adding some. I can change kind of what I've got going on here. I can break the link, which gets it away. But now that everything's turned purple here, I can finish my sketch here, and I can redefine the sketch. There's some different things, but basically, we kind of know what we did. There's nothing that's wrong with it. Maybe the correct thing to do would be go back, but that gives us what we need. Right. So there's my part for the Titan 1